Welcome once again to Auto Mundial, the weekly home of all the latest motoring news and reviews. This week, Cadillac unveils its all-electric Lyriq SUV in sporty guise.
We've also got a BMW 2 Series that should be a 1 Series.
Plus, is this the definitive city-going hatchback for a brighter, more enjoyable commute?
That is all coming up. First though, the news.
For its clean, emission-free running and rapid replenishing times on par with combustion engines, we typically see hydrogen fuel cells as the future of mobility. But what if battery electric vehicles could rival sub-5-minute refueling times? Well, Chinese automaker BYD has unveiled a new generation of platform tech upon which it hopes to build its next line of models. Dubbed the Super E platform, it's all about revolutionary progress to the control unit and motors. But the most exciting advancement that we can tell is the 1000-volt battery, more than any manufacturer currently offers. Simply put, higher voltage batteries feature greater energy density thanks to a far more powerful construction. This means that you can fit more electric charge into a smaller volume, but that electricity is also far less prone to temperature variations. Higher voltage batteries also benefit from faster recharging rates, which has led BYD to call its new power source the flash charging battery, as it claims it will gain 400 km of charge in just 5 minutes, rivaling petrol pumps. Whether or not the national grid could cope with such demand is another story, but we're excited by the prospect of rapid advancements in the technology of cars of the future.
Late last year at the Paris Motor Show, surrounded by established French marques and emerging Chinese contenders, was Cadillac, looking to set up its latest assault on European markets. Available now on the continent and inbound to UK dealerships this year, both the Optiq and its smaller sibling, the Lyriq, are interesting prospects, but face harsh rivals for less money. In the States, however, they are among the most exciting new electric vehicles, and yet somehow the American car maker managed to make its smaller offering even more thrilling. This is the Lyriq V, Cadillac's all-electric mid-size SUV turned up to 11. From the standard car, this V Series gets a twin-motor setup, making for all-wheel drive handling. Oh, and 615 brake horsepower. That little number, paired with all-electric instant torque, provides the Lyriq V with the little fact of being the fastest accelerating Cadillac ever, completing the 0 to 60 sprint in 3.3 seconds. If you do reach that sort of speed on the road, you'll also be able to return to city-going speeds in a flash, all in a safe way, obviously, thanks to a new front brake setup. Visually setting the V apart from more pedestrian Lyriq variants is a slightly redesigned front end for a more aggressive look, as well as body colour bumpers, where the standard car gets a softer plastic look. If that isn't enough aggression, 22-inch wheels are gigantic and carbon fibre trim pieces are available as options. Retaining the same 102 kilowatt-hour battery as the standard Lyriq, this V can only really manage 285 miles on a charge. Then again, that figure will almost certainly drop closer to the 200 mark after a few runs to 60. Cadillac's UK branch will be working hard to get its foot in the door with its more sedate offerings, but a UK arrival for this sportier model has not been ruled out for later down the line. If you're desperate to get your hands on a hot American electric SUV right now, however, the Lyriq V is available in the US from $80,000.
Dull, devoid of fun and depressing, not to mention the great British weather. Commuting here in the UK is a sorry affair full of the colour grey. But to combat the monochrome monotony of concrete jungles on overcast mornings, we would suggest that the right car can inject a little colourful spice into your life. Perhaps this is the right car to turn that Monday morning frown upside down. Now in its hybridized fourth generation, following an update last year, the Suzuki Swift is finally stepping away from being a plucky afterthought in the compact hatchback market and instead is taking a seat at the table as a worthwhile option in class. But will fancy, grown-up tech and up-to-date hybrid trickery take away from its lovable nature, catering to the younger generation? Straight away, we must say that we prefer the previous generation when it comes to the Swift's design. Retaining its upright stance and long bonnet, the front end now curves inward towards the mouth of a carb. This pointy design also means that the bonnet opening is particularly tight, which, whilst we do not expect you to have to dive into the engine bay particularly frequently, it's something to consider. That being said, the bonnet line does transition nicely along the car into this sharp-looking hip that presents as the first sign of the Swift's secret sporty attitude. Well, when we say sporty, we actually mean nippy, as powering the front wheels is a total of 84 brake horsepower. That figure comes from the standard across-the-range 1.2-litre three-cylinder engine mated to a 12-volt mild hybrid system for greater efficiency. Suzuki claims upwards of 64 miles per gallon on combined journeys, though sticking within city limits we struggle to surpass 55. An impressive figure inflated by the hybrid system switching to electric-only mode at lower speeds. Handling this new hatchback does take some getting used to. Transitioning from regenerative braking to getting back on the power does tend to lurch the car about a bit. Whilst a CVT automatic is available, this small engine does feature a very narrow power band, and so for those moments when you need to get your shoulders out, we would recommend the 5-speed manual for greater control. Not only do you need to climb into the rev range to get any form of torque, lower RPM will see the whole car vibrate from what is a rudimentary and small power unit. When you do eventually move away from the city centre, we would recommend sticking to smaller B roads where this car's stiff chassis and weighted steering excel. Spend any time at motorway speeds and the tinny, fragile and bullyable nature the car does its best to hide finally rears its head. Exterior details and an engine with the personality of a Jack Russell pair nicely with the cabin's focused design. Bolstered seats sit you low to the ground, whilst the body envelops you nicely. In a similar vein, you get a small steering wheel with surprisingly weighted feel, perfectly complementing the car's nippy nature. That isn't to say the cabin is tight, however, as both front and rear rows of seats get good legroom and the tall roof means even taller adults should be comfortable in the back, and the boot is perfectly acceptable for your weekly shop, but any sizable luggage will require dropping the rear seats. With its higher ultra trim level, our car got heated seats, a rear view camera and this 9-inch central display. Connecting a phone took longer than expected the first time, but after navigating the sometimes slow settings screen once, you needn't dive outside of your preferred phone connectivity app.
So how does the Swift fare versus its rivals in class? Well, despite being a heavily fought segment just a few years ago, the compact city hatchback is a rare sight in 2025. And when you add the requirement for something a bit jazzy that you won't be ashamed of showing off to the masses, each entrant has its issues. At £30,000, the Instagram-friendly Mercedes A-Class is eye-wateringly expensive. The Fiat 500 is closer to a microcar in its dimensions and suffers from renowned reliability concerns, and the Audi A1 is now very outdated and just as expensive as the Merc with a few options selected. Cheaper alternatives, more in line with the Suzuki's price point, like the Dacia Sandero and Kia Picanto, on the other hand, don't get the same fun factor or premium feel, doing all they can to provide the most affordable motoring experience possible, and in turn don't quite liven up your commute in the same way. So whilst we may prefer the outgoing Swift's design, this new little Suzuki is now a far more serious challenger in class and hitting the market from just under £20,000, one we would recommend. For the bells and whistles of extra styling pieces and a longer list of interior comfort, our particular ultra trim level costs a little over £21,000.
After the break, the Dodge Charger Daytona pushes its limits in the Arctic Circle.
Welcome back. Next, could this be the perfect Porsche Taycan rival on a budget?
This is the BMW 1 Series, a sharp-lined hatchback with sporty details to swoon the most lucky in life's Sunday supermarket car park goers. And this is the BMW 2 Series, a grown-up two-door with swooping shapes for a more sophisticated look. So, when we present you with this, what model would you guess it to be? Well, you would be wrong, as last year the Bavarian manufacturer unveiled this four-door saloon with tight angles sporting the 2 Series GRAN Coupe nameplate, hardly looking anything like the 2 Series. Nevertheless, the model has now been out on the prowl for over 6 months, and so it's time to put it through its paces. And what better way to do that than aboard its sportiest M235 variant. In this sportified form, the four-door 2 Series with 1 Series styling gets a 2-litre twin-turbo 4-cylinder engine, good for a healthy 300 brake horsepower, sent to all 4 wheels thanks to BMW's xDrive system. If that sounds like a bit much for a family saloon, a pair of mild hybrids will offer either 167 or 215 brake horsepower. But if you were a fan of economical diesel, look elsewhere, as BMW has banished them from the range. The M Sport Edition isn't just an engine though, as carbon winglets, these somewhat messy wheels and 4 exhaust exits make for a sporty look, enhancing the angular design that is the GRAN Coupe. Inside, the regular model's comfort seats are replaced with harsh buckets designed to hold you in place when flying through corners a little faster than you probably should. BMW's sports steering wheel gets extra driving mode buttons, and blue and red trim details accentuate the cabin's excitement. Be it in sporty or standard trim, your 2 Series GRAN Coupe gets the same sweeping dual display dominating the dash, while other models' premium Harman Kardon sound system comes as standard here. Over the regular 2 Series, this GRAN Coupe gets a significant rear legroom increase, so even adults should be comfortable in the back, though if you're used to the 1 Series, you might find headroom to be a squeeze. And though the boot is larger than on the hatchback, you do get a far smaller opening, so filling it with larger objects may be a challenge.
So if you want the sloping looks of a 4-door saloon, but with the ease of use of a sport-back boot lid, maybe the other German hot hatch manufacturer has something for you. This is the Audi S3 in saloon specification, meaning it gets all the benefits of a longer boot without the drawbacks of a coupe boot lid. And better yet, this S3 actually looks like the regular S3. In this sporty specification, Audi's best-selling compact gets a similar 2-litre turbo 4-pot to the BMW with around 328 brake horsepower destined to all four wheels. As part of the model's facelift last year, this mid-range model benefited from the outgoing RS3's limited slip differential for greater driving dynamics. In fact, the whole thing appears a little bit more impressive versus the BMW. Sharp looks needn't get cluttered by additional carbon fibre bits and bobs to look mean, whilst broader haunches give the car a far more focused stance. Much like the BMW, for those in search of something more down-to-earth, the Audi is available with more sedate engine offerings and with less aggressive design pieces in the form of the A3. And unlike the 2 Series, the 4-rings fronted racer retains a 150 brake horsepower diesel option alongside 2 petrols, a 115 brake 30 TFSI and the 35 TFSI pushing 150 ponies. Regardless of the variant inside, you get a far darker cabin without the flair of BMW's M-design language. Despite the claustrophobic decoration that makes the Audi feel small on the inside, it actually offers greater space than the BMW, especially in the back. So not only is it the more practical offering, the more powerful offering, and the more attractive offering, it's also the more spacious of the two. But with that in mind, in the top sporty variant at least, the Audi is also the more expensive German compact saloon, hitting the market at £47,500, some £3,000 more than the Beamer. Drop to the entry level, however, and that is no longer true with the Audi's saloon £30,000 starting price, superseded by the 2 Series GRAN Coupe's £35,000.
In the EV age, cars are more than ever affected by weather, as batteries require an optimal temperature to operate as efficiently as possible. As such, here in the UK, where figures below freezing are not uncommon, EV ranges vary greatly throughout the year. But this is an area that manufacturers are eager to improve upon, with winter testing in the Arctic Circle more popular than ever. Even performance cars like the incoming Dodge Charger Daytona is getting its fair share of frozen lake testing, although in this case it does look a little more sideways fun than scientific advancement. Sliding on snow and ice is certainly no complex task for most cars, but with its 670 brake horsepower with the SCAT pack, flamboyant scenes are what the Daytona does best. Completing the standing quarter mile in under 12 seconds is the new Charger's party piece, alongside a 3.3 second 0 to 62 time, but even this car's all-wheel drive system might struggle to do so on tractionless icy surfaces. Now for the all-important range that Dodge is pushing to its limits through winter testing. Powering its pair of motors is a 93.9 kilowatt-hour battery, meaning that in the model's lower 496 brake horsepower RT version, it will surpass the 300-mile mark on a charge. The performance-orientated SCAT pack, on the other hand, will struggle to reach 250 according to official figures. Where European rivals like the Porsche Taycan benefit from a more advanced 800-volt battery architecture, allowing for greater energy density, efficiency and charging times, the Dodge gets a more conventional 400-volt design. That means that charging from 20 to 80% takes a longer 27 minutes. But what it does mean is that the Charger is a cheaper package versus its European counterparts. This muscle car for the new age hits shelves from $61,500, $40,000 less than the Porsche Taycan. Plus, without the American's so-called Fratsonic exhaust chamber, the Porsche cannot make noises like this.
So what does the Porsche offer you for the extra money? Well, let's be honest, It's a Porsche, and so this $100,000 electric sports saloon gets far more luxurious notes on the inside. Nicer seats, better tech, more standard features, and the simple pleasure of seeing the Porsche name dotted around your cabin all add up to that special feeling. Elsewhere, and aside from the obvious, the Porsche gets far greater battery tech, meaning it'll go further on a charge. Where the charger tops out at 300 miles, the Porsche's large selection of variants averages around that, with the top model scraping the 400-mile mark. And if that wasn't enough, more juice means a greater punch, and so the Taycan's top turbo S model will send 940 brake horsepower to the ground. That's almost 300 more than the Dodge, meaning it can reach 60 from a standstill 1 whole second faster than the top Charger. With all that in mind, it might sound like saving for the German EV is the way to go. But if you ask us, 670 bhp is already more than enough, and when it comes with a retro mixtape as a soundtrack, we think the Dodge Charger is far better value for money.
Next time on Auto Mundial, the Rolls-Royce Phantom marks a centenary of luxurious automotive excellence.